Hi guys, this is Cindy with Pups and Crochet, and I told you I'd be right back. Yes, so I am doing 100 Days of Halloween to help celebrate Neva at Manic Mama Musings to get to her Podiversary. Yes, so we are doing 100 days. So far, I've got these done. Okay, so I'm making a granny square, and if I'm good, some worked out better than the others, but I'm gonna make a blinky out of it when it's all done. So I'll have 100 squares. Okay, but I might have to order some more fluorescent yarn because I'm running out. So I'm using all these cool fluorescent Halloween colors. So I am on day number 11. And I'm catching up. So I thought I'd do something different. So I started looking up like the most haunted houses, something different than a movie. So I got a couple and I'll tell you about them. Okay, this one's in Plainfield, Wisconsin. It's by Ed Gein. And he was also the inspiration for Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lamb. And also as well as the Butcher of Plainfield. Okay, and he went to graves and he took trophies from these newly graves. Skin, bones, teeth, whatever he felt like taking. And when they finally busted him, these were his trophies. And when they finally busted him, they found out that he had in his basement skin, bones, bowls made of human skulls, and so those were from like older graves. Then he made lampshades out of skin and a waste bin out of skin. Disgusting. So I did a couple of these because then I found out something very interesting that I think you might like to know. I really do. I think you might really be interested in this. So let me just get past this couple of houses and then I'll tell you. Okay, then there was the Belika of Iowa. She, where was it? She was the axe murder house. That's what it was. And it is, it's in I read that wrong. I'm so, ugh. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Valencia, Iowa. It was called the Axe Ranch House, okay, by Joshua B. Moore in 1912, okay. Every morning someone was massacred, the Moore's family, and my goodness, am I not speaking right today? In 1912, okay, everyone in his house was found dead. Somebody massacred them all and massacred 2 house guests that were staying with him. And no one was ever charged. They never found out who did it. Now, my last one that I'm going to tell you about before I found the super interesting thing was this is Franklin's Castle. It's in Clever, Ohio. It has mysterious deaths. Yes. Medical experiences, and it had hidden rooms. It still has them. Hidden rooms, secret passageways. Visitors and residents all alike would take peeks around in there, and they would swear they saw ghosts, and they saw ghosts sitting down, ghosts walking around, ghosts in those little things. Okay, first of all, if you got hidden tunnels on your wall, there's something more going on than just one thing. And they never know why. But people still live in that house. They still buy that house. And they go stay in this house. Not me. I mean, I love spook movies and everything, but I don't want to see no ghosts coming up to me. No. So, as I'm going through this list and I'm looking, and I found something very interesting that I was surprised, honestly, that it was never brought up. we never learned about this in our histories. We never, through grammar school, high school, college, nothing. They never brought this up, which was really surprising to me. I'm in Illinois, and I'm surprised. But this really caught my eye first because it said it was a Chicago woman. Now, I was born in Chicago, raised out there, back and forth with, going to my aunt's house. They all lived out that way. And we were raised in Cicero. But Cicero's, on the border. Cicero Avenue is the border. This side is Cicero and that side Chicago. So it wasn't far. We always drove there. My Aunt Pat had 6 kids, so she had the biggest yard. So that's where I always did all Easter egg hunts and, everything. And plus she had a whole garage full of all those little push cars where you push the pedals and you steer it and you run. And then, man, she opened the garage. We were gone. Everybody took something. We had the ones with the 2 people that could get in there, and you got 2 sets of pedals, and you're going and going. You got the big wheels with the little lever that they don't sell anymore, which is very sad that they don't do it, so because you could pull that little lever up and do them 360s and stuff, but, people ruin it. They ruin all the fun stuff. So as I'm going through this and I'm taking down my notes, because I want to make sure I get my notes right, I found it very interesting. Okay, she was the first woman crime scene investigator ever. And we have never learned about her. Her name was Frances Glassner Lee, which also caught my eye because my grandma's first name was Frances. Or her middle name. Her first name was Ella, but some people just call them all by their middle names. So it was a shock to me to find out that my whole life I've been calling my aunts by their middle names. I didn't even know their real first names. Because like we call Brenda Brenda. But her real name's Emma Brenda Sue. So you could tell she's from Tennessee. They all got that Southern charm. Okay, so Frances Lee was born on March 25th in 1878. Okay, she was born to a wealthy family. She was the only daughter and the youngest child in the whole family. And that became, they became rich off of farming machinery. Her family, that's what they did. So, that's what I use my notepads for, to keep these notes down. So, as time goes on, she made her scene as a fancy Chicago socialite because she was the only girl, and plus she was the youngest. So, they'd get dressed up and go down to parties down in Chicago at these, exclusive clubs and stuff. And that's how they show their daughters off and bring them out, and that's where they would meet people. So she met someone there at one of these parties, and they dated for a little while and then got married. And it was one of the partners of her dad's firm. So anyway, they ended up having some kids, ended up getting divorced. So she was a divorced, empty nester. She became a pioneer for forensic science. She was the first female police captain in America and a very brilliant artist. So she not only did the woman in charge of the crime scene investigations, but she was the official first female police captain in America. Yes. And nobody told us. So I'm reading about this. I'm getting really interested. I love to read. I love to find things out. And like I said, you should learn something new every day. So I hope you find this as exciting as I did. I mean, it's not like, you know, she's from 1878. But they showed some pictures of her, which actually were the little black and white pictures like I seen of my grandma and stuff that they used to have. But I mean, you know, her family was rich, so they were able to get the photography where they put that camera up and they go poof, and the, you know, the light bulb would blow up and whatever. But what she did was, after she got divorced and her kids were all grown, and she was always interested in forensic science, finding out things that happened at crime scenes and things like this. Well, what she did was, oh, and I forgot to tell you, she married him, her dad's partner, in 1898. She was 20 years old, and by 1929, she was divorced and living on her own, had her own house in New Hampshire. So that's where she settled down. But her original roots were here in Chicago. So she was in the hospital, and she was recovering after a surgery. And she met with this French doctor, Dr. George Barres. And, you know, at that time, they didn't really have, like, massive amounts of patients and stuff like that. You know, so she made friends with this Dr. George Barres. And he was the medical examiner for that hospital. And he would tell her stories about autopsies finding, crime scenes, all kinds of stuff like that. And he sat with her every night that she was there recuperating, telling her about his stories. And he would go to the scenes to see why these people died. What happened? What did this? What did that? And it really got her interested, and she really started listening to every story he said. But women weren't allowed. She wanted to go to college. She wanted to go to Harvard. She wanted to be in science, and the science and medicine part of Harvard at that time. But they would not let women in the Ivy League school until 1945. So she used her friendship with the doctor to get her foot in the door. She donated enough money that she got to Harvard, that she got a chair on the board for the legal medicine in 1931. She donated more than 1,000 books to the library, and then they named the library after her good friend, the Dr. McGrath Library of Legal Medicine, which was changed in 1964 to the Harvest Courtway Love Library Medicine. And that was after the legal medicines dissolved. So instead of calling it legal medicines, they called it Library of Medicines. You know, and I don't see what the difference is. I think they should have left it the way it was, but, you know, it's up to them. But she learned from this Dr. McGrath how police officers contaminated crime scenes. They didn't know how to do the analysis. They didn't know how to block it off. They would just walk through it and just take away any evidence that they could find. So with her doing this, she started having 2-day events at her house. It would be a weekend. She would invite police officers, legal medicine and stuff, people to come to her house, and she would train them. She made these little miniature houses like this, and they would be perfectly. They would have little miniature sinks, you know, depending on where that crime was. If it was the bedroom, she made little miniature beds, and she made all the little blankets and the pillows. I mean, it had everything in it. So what she did it as a diorama. So she would have these 2-day, excuse me. So she would have these 2-day events where she would show them these mini little models. She even made it with little blood splatter on the wall and this and that to show. I mean, it was perfectly done. She made her own wallpaper, made her own curtains. It was to the T everything that was in this house, whatever it was. So after she did this with the 2-day events, by 1940, the 2-day meetings were week-long conferences, and they were held at Harvard. And so what I did for my patch, okay, for my square, is I made a little mini house and a little mini ambulance to show about her miniatures that she made. Okay, and these were little replicas, and she also made for her mother, for her birthday, as a present, she made her a mini replica of the Chicago Symphony Orchestra. And you figure in the 1930s, 40s, I mean, these were elaborate balls and stuff that they went to, and she did everything perfectly, but in miniature. Miniature little violins, miniature little saxophone. I mean, everything that was on there, she did it. So, in total, she made 20 dioramas, okay, with details about everything, like I told you. And they became learning instruments. And the people started calling them Nutshell Collection of Unexplained Deaths. So, her displays, she had 20 of them, and she trained the police. So you can thank her for all the investigation that people know now, because she did do this. But nobody ever told us about this. And her displays were at the Renwick Gallery at the Smithsonian, okay, from 2017 to 2018. You were allowed, and I wish I would have known about this, for those 2 years, you were allowed to go into it, and they had her 20 dioramas set up, each with a different crime scene. And they were in the little houses, and the room was darkened. They'd give you a flashlight, and you'd get to go to every house and look inside the house and see if you can determine how that person died, which was really cool. After 2018, her Nutshell collection became the property of the Baltimore Office of Chief Medical Examiner. He held annual seminars in her honor until 2020. And then the office still cares for her little Nutshell collection, but it is not for public view anymore. Lee died in 1962. So at least she got to go to some sock hops and stuff, you know, so that was pretty cool. But, I don't know, maybe she was too old to even sock hop. I don't know, maybe. Get some saddle shoes and go. But I wanted to tell you about that because I thought that was so interesting. That they still had this, and now you can't see it. But I was looking it up and seeing people with little flashlights, and they're looking in all the rooms and stuff. And if I remember to do this, I will make myself a note, but sometimes I still forget. I'll post the picture of what she looked like in my community tab. Community tab. Okay, wrote it down. Okay. So, that was my interesting find for that square. And it was not a movie. It was just, I just thought you'd like to know, and females would like to know, that she was the official first female police captain ever in America. And her artistry for making these little miniatures were perfect. They were gorgeous. I'll try to find more pictures of them so I can show you what they look like. Or if you look her up, I'm sure you can find her, because she was awesome. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about 2 more. Okay, first of all, are the haunted houses. Okay, in Amityville, New York, where Ronald DeFeo Jr., 1974, he killed his mom, his dad, all his brothers, his 4 brothers, and his sister with a .35 caliber rifle. Now, that is made into all those Amityville movies, and it is off a true story. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if he's, still locked up, whatever, but I know that from them, The Conjuring started, and, this is where the 2 people that you see in the movies now, they have done this one. And then there was one more where the Fox River, Massachusetts, Lizzie Borden took an axe and murdered her mom, her father, and her stepmom in 1892. She was tried and acquitted of any wrongdoing. I don't know why. Guess we'd have to go back to 1892 to see how she got away with it, because she did. I don't know. But those are my haunted houses. But I wanted to tell you about Frances, because I thought that was just such a perfect fact. And that she did it only miniatures. Okay, so I'm going to let you go. I will be back with my next one, why I'm taping, and a couple I have to hold off on because Robert wants to do them with me when he comes home tomorrow, because he's at work. Okay, hugs and puppy kisses, prayers if you need them, and please remember, adopt, don't shop. There are just way too many babies out there that need a home. Bye, guys.